Most students just memorize that this becomes x is more than negative 3 and less than 3. But why just one inequality suddenly becomes 2? Where does this come from? The first way to understand it is with distance. The absolute value of a number is a distance from 0 to this number, in our case x. So absolute value of x less than negative 3 means that x is less than 3 units away from 0. Now look at this number line. What intervals will satisfy this condition? Think about it. Well, if we go to the right from 0 to 3, this will definitely be less than 3 units away from 0. But from negative 3 to 0 is also will be less than 3 units away from 0. Therefore, our solution is x is more than negative 3, but less than 3. Every point in this interval is less than 3 units away from 0. Notice that negative 3 and 3 are not included because their distance from 0 is exactly 3, not less than 3. We can also write it in the interval notation from negative 3 to 3 using parentheses because they are not included. Also notice that we can't include the numbers which are to the right of 3 or to the left of negative 3 because in this case the distance will be more than 3 units away from 0. The picture tells us clearly what the answer is. Now let's see why the algebra gives exactly the same result. Now watch. This is the definition of absolute value. It says if x is non-negative, or in other words, if x is more or equal than 0, then absolute value doesn't change. So x stays x. If x is negative, or in other words, if x is less than 0, the absolute value changes its sign. So x becomes negative x. Now consider our original inequality. Absolute value of x is less than 3. And now we will just use the definition of absolute value. No matter which case we are in, case 1 or case 2, the expression inside the absolute value, in our case x, must be less than 3, and the opposite of this expression, which is negative x, also must be less than 3. Now we already have the first part of our answer. And we solve the second inequality by multiplying it by negative 1, which flips its sign. And we have x is more than negative 3. Now we have two conditions. X is less than 3 and x is more than negative 3. And now we just combine them because both of them must be true. And we get x is more than negative 3 and less than 3. Or in the interval notation, from negative 3 to 3, not included. The double inequality is not a formula to memorize. It came from the meaning of the absolute value. The picture shows us the distance, and the algebra shows the definition. Both led to the same idea.